Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between TLO versus Nada here on Blistering Sands. We have Nada spawning as the blue Terran player on the south side of the map, meanwhile TLO spawning on the north side of the map as the red Terran player. So this is another Terran versus Terran matchup, Terran mirror match here on Blistering Sands. Interested to see how Terran versus Terran is played on the Korean servers. Normally on the American servers, you get a lot of Viking tank war, and if you let your opponent macro up to that, so we'll see if TLO even allows for Viking tank wars or something completely different. And a little bit of a misclick there. I think TLO was trying to make it so that two of his SCVs were mining off of this one mineral patch to increase the amount of mining time off of here, but it didn't look like it quite worked. Now, both sides throwing down supply depots or placing supply depots, none of them trying to place that supply depot near their front door at all. Their supply depots are rather close to their Vespene geysers. They're able to raise it and lower it so that it can be used to try to delay any sort of harassment coming in from Marines and Marauders, and it also can be lowered in order to make sure that it does not hinder any Vespene geyser mining. Back over here, we now see a barracks being placed down by TLO. The same thing being done by Nada. So Nada and TLO both doing the same exact thing. You can see Nada's hotkeys, all of them. One is that one SCV, and the rest of them are all of his on his command center. So does TLO do the same thing? No, TLO does not do the same thing. 5 is his barracks, 1 is his command center, 2 is his now scouting SCV. So we'll see how this works out, as now these SCVs will be moving out. Nada and TLO, Stevie the SCV and his twin brother, gonna go ahead and face each other for just a moment, perhaps give each other a kiss. There we go, and now make their way along. So Nada now will be able to come in and do some scouting. Both sides now already have their Vespene geyser up, so it doesn't look like there's going to be anything too out of the way or too out of the norm. So we should be seeing a Marine being trained out. The key question will be, are we going to get a tech lab first, or are we going to get a factory first? That will be a critical question at this stage in the game, as we see Nada now going for that second refinery. TLO also going for that second refinery within seconds of each other. So both players so far sticking to similar builds. One Marine now moving out. Same thing, one Marine over here by TLO. Both sides want to make sure to get that scouting SCV out of the base. And now these SCVs will once again, for the second time this game, give each other a quick kiss. Oh no, passing each other as there was a mineral pathing there. So yeah, doing a nice job there, using mineral pathing, able to pass through another unit. Yeah. Anyways, back over here, you do see that Nada, he's doing a very good job trying to make sure that he does not mine from these further mineral patches. You see that these are all macroed onto the higher ones here, and then he's also has double SCVs on this particular mineral patch. We'll probably finally get one transferred over here in just a second, as we now see a factory coming in from TLO. So TLO and Nada both getting a factory, already have a reactor up for Nada. So Nada opted to go for the reactor first, double train up some Marines, while LiquidTLO decided to get that factory first, and then perhaps throw down a reactor a little bit later. No, it looks like he's going to be trying to go for a 1-1-1 build. We may see a starport in just a second, and that would be my guess from TLO, as he is sitting on a fair amount of gas. There are a couple of Marines down over here, and TLO not exactly sure what his strategy is. Going for another factory now, so going for a 2-factory build instead of a starport. Meanwhile, Nada has one factory, one with the reactor, one barracks, one factory, now getting a tech lab, also has a reactor on this barracks as well, so he may just be going for siege tanks and Marines. We now see one Hellion moving out in order to do some scouting. This one Hellion will not be able to make it very far across the map. This Hellion just going to check this Zelnaga watchtower, making sure that there's no SCV there. Marines now trying to be massed up over here, so we're going to have a decent amount of Marines. And now we see this barracks being transferred over here. We are researching siege tech, and now going for a reactor into double Vikings. So it's going to be 2 Vikings, 1 siege tank, and mass Marines trying to do any positioning and movement over here. TLO sitting on 2 Hellions will be able to move out in just a second as well. And now we see a factory currently going to start training up some Thors in just a moment. Hellions were able to toast down 1 Marine. However, 1 siege tank will be able to come in and then push that 1 Hellion back. We should be seeing a Thor being trained up in just a second. So TLO going for a Thor build, and against the siege tank, Marine, and Viking build. So that starport will be completed in just a second. We'll be able to train up double Vikings, and now with double Vikings and 2 siege tanks joining in on this fight, Nada is going to be doing a very, very aggressive push with some Marines, a siege tank, and just a couple Vikings. Siege tank's now going to go ahead and just gather up here. 1 Marine going to go activate the Zelnaga watchtower to make sure, and now TLO suspecting something. now moving out with the scouting barracks. So the scouting barracks will be able to gain sight as soon as it moves down over here. We do see one SCV over here as well. Now we are seeing some more Hellions being trained, and one Thor will be completed, and a second Thor being completed as well. However, these Hellions now trying to move out. Siege Tank able to get a couple quick blasts onto those Hellions. Hellions now low on hit points, one of them in the red. One Thor may be trying to move out. However, there are now double Siege Tanks. So with double Siege Tanks, how is this going to work? Trying to blast away at that Thor. Very nicely done. TLO taking all that shock damage from that one Thor. You got to remember that the Thor also has a very, very large radius. So because of that high Thor radius, Siege Tank splash damage only hits that one Thor, as these Hellions able to clean up the rest of these Marines here. So very, very well played by TLO. TLO getting that Thor out just in the nick of time, will be able to get that level 1 weapons upgrade. However, one Siege Tank from Nada will be able to push back any sort of aggression here. So there we go. That the one Siege Tank able to get off a couple quick blasts, and now these Hellions trying to get within that 0 distance. Will it be enough? Oh no, the TLO able to get within here, now trying to fight back. This one Siege Tank needs to get out of siege mode, otherwise it's just going to sit there the whole entire time. However, a couple Marines coming in, TLO deciding to sacrifice itself, that one Hellion, into these two Marines so that that splash damage would deal more damage once again. We now see one barrack still flying out around the map. TLO trying to be very aggressive. Nada both sides playing a very, very micro-intensive war. And now we're getting a tech lab. So a tech lab on this starport, perhaps for perhaps for Banshees. I cannot imagine him going Banshees at this stage in the game, just because Banshees get shot down by Thor so quickly, especially since we are not going to have any research for quite some time. One Thor here, army-wise, 600 versus 650, and now this Thor with a range of 7, it does have a level 1 weapons upgrade, and those Siege Tanks deciding to back off. The Thor's Hammer does have an attack speed of 1.28, and now the Thor's Hammer trying to unload onto these destructible rocks. One barracks here, now gaining sight, and now these Thors need to make their way over here, trying to start blasting away at the Siege Tank. Siege Tank now blasting at that Thor. One Siege Tank already down. The Thor going to be able to take down that second Thor, and now this Thor trying to finish it off, and there we go. That Thor down to 7 hit points and barely able to survive. So now we do see some Marines now trying to make their way over here. Is this one Thor perhaps going to be repaired? We need to get an SCV. Oh, Marine now going to go on a mission to try to shoot down that Thor, and is it going to work? Yes, oh no, it's not, as an SCV is able to come in and repair it just in time. A second Thor now coming in, and there unloads on that one Marine. Get out of my house. Do not hurt my brother. So now these Thors just continuing to fight back and forth. Two SCVs continuing to repair once again. We are getting the level 2 weapons upgrade. So 2-0 Thors with Marines and Hellions. And now one poor Banshee going to get shot out of the sky so quickly. Yeah, I could not believe that Nada was actually trying to go for Banshees. Banshees not a strong opening in this particular situation, just because those Thors with that level 2 weapons upgrade nearly, or level 1 weapons upgrade, almost able to 2-shot a Banshee with the Marine support, able to 2-shot a Banshee. We now see the barracks once again floating off, and now TLO just very, very heavily favoring this mech strategy, as these Siege Tanks now starting to blast away at, or just trying to siege up, making sure that those Marines are going to be covered. Now one Thor coming into position. Will this Thor be able to start firing again? No, not going to be able to. We should be getting some SCVs trying to repair this one barracks in just a moment. This barracks still burning in the sky, as these Thors down over here. Level 1 weapons upgrade, level 2 will be ready in just a moment. Army 1600 versus 1200. And now Hellions just coming straight into here. However, Siege Tanks in siege modes able to blast away those Hellions. Hellions are light units, so they do not take full damage. One barracks over here will burn down, as there is not an SCV close by in order to repair it. So this one barracks already down to 45 hit points. We now see some Siege Tanks and some units continuing to move out. This one missile turret will get blasted apart in just a second. There we go. SCV unable to even repair that barracks. Barracks will get shot down or burned to a crisp. There it goes as well, as now we have 3 Thors. So these 3 Thors with that level 2 weapons upgrade, able to deal 64 damage per attack against air units, meanwhile dealing an impressive 72 damage per attack against ground units. So not quite able to 2-shot Siege Tanks, but able to 2-shot Marauders and 1-shot Marines. So now as this fight continues, TLO does have his natural expansion up. As this game continues, TLO will have a very strong economic advantage. TLO's SCV not on auto repair, as these Siege Tanks now moving out. Thor is doing a great job here, just trying to spread themselves out. These Siege Tanks only able to blast one at a time, and now just continuing to push back and forth these Siege Tanks with a very, very far range. And this is one of those instances and situations where a siege tank in tank mode actually does more damage than a siege tank in siege mode when fighting against a Thor. If you take a look at a Thor has a very, very large radius, so that splash damage, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm fairly certain that the siege tank, if a unit is standing next to a Thor, that siege tank does not able to splash around it since the splash damage is calculated from the center of the target. That is one of the changes that was made during the beta. So because that splash damage is around the center of the target, the Thor has such a large radius that the units that are next to it may not be able to take some damage. Great game here on Blistering Sands. LiquidTLO beating Nada using a very, very impressive 2-0 upgraded Thor push. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between TLO and Nada on Blistering Sands. Hope to see you guys on Battle.net.